Very pleased to be joined on the line by Merritt Centennials head coach and GM Luke Pierce. Luke, you had your spring camp down in Abbotsford. First off, I got to say, thanks again for taking the time to chat.
Yeah, my pleasure, Brian, as always.
So how did it go over the weekend starting Friday with your registration? You had some practices and then scrimmages on Saturday and Sunday.
It was extremely successful, I would say, and I think we always try to say that, but we were very happy with the whole camp from start to finish. I think the format was really good, a little bit of a different look than we had in the past, where we opened with just practices on one day and then right into the game. So it gave it a little bit of a different flavor, and I think turned out very well. And at the end of the day, I think we were probably the best camp that I've seen run since I've been involved with the team here.
How would you gauge the compete level from the players for the most part?
Well, I think it's always interesting to see how they slowly pick up the pace as it goes on and people get more and more comfortable. And by the end of it, it was as competitive as any that we've seen. I think the talent pool was probably the highest we've had, and very interesting to see some young 96 birth years even out there competing at a high level, and I think have extremely bright futures.
Did you find that you had a different mindset for the players that were, say, of that age group, 15, 16-year-olds, as opposed to some of the 17, 18, 19-year-olds that maybe are a little more realistic in terms of making your team this season?
Well, I think we have different expectations for kids that have some junior B experience, or have some a couple of years of major midget or high end midget under their belt, and but the young guys there that we had all played extremely well and were right in the mix with the rest of the group, and those are the kids that we want to make sure that we're helping to find the right development path for them, and hope that path leads back through the Merritt Centennials at some point in the next few years here.
Did you have the draft that was coming up for the affiliate players in the back of your mind when you were looking at some of the bantam age players?
Yeah, it crosses your mind quite a bit as you're going through it, but that's something that we'll spend a good month or so really looking into and making sure that we're making a couple of picks that make sense for us, and being in Merritt and different things like that.
Now, how about the spots that you've got open on your roster right now? You always have sort of maintained that mantra that no job is safe, and anybody can be outplayed by somebody else to sort of earn their spot on this squad. Did you find that there were players at the camp over the weekend that are very, very good chance that they're going to make this team in 2011-12?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple there that, I think there's a real good possibility you'll see them in our roster here come, the end of September. And there's more there that are going to, really push a lot of our returning guys. And now with this roster being reduced to 21, I think our large returning group, better be putting in the work that we think they are and expect them to be, because seeing what's out there and some of the future, of prospects, they're going to get pushed extremely hard, and we need to have the most competitive team on the ice that we can. With only 4 teams making our playoffs, we can't wait for a guy to get in shape or to get his stuff together. So it's going to be an interesting camp come the end of August for sure.
Now, was there an underlying message? I know you do an exit interview with each player individually. Was there an underlying message for all of the guys, or was there sort of a specific message for each one? If you could divulge some of that a little bit for us.
Well, we talked to each team prior to their kind of last game and just let them know the situation that we're in and how we're trying to go forward here with our main camp. We're going to run a small main camp of approximately 40-45 players, and that there would be a lot of them there that are good enough, talented enough to play in a main camp and exhibition and possibly even in our league, and they might not get invited back, because we're going to be very selective on the type of kids that we need to bring in here. We'll have a mix of some kind of future prospects and some prospects for today, and right down to specific positions and things like that. So we just kind of told them that we were extremely impressed with the camp, and not to take it hard if they weren't in our plans, it didn't mean that they're not good enough, because I thought the majority of that camp probably has a future in the BC Hockey League.
Now, that being said, did you extend any of those invitations after this weekend, or do you do something in the next 8 weeks now towards that August camp?
Well, it'll be, prior to that, it'll over the next week, 10 days, Joe and I really have a lot of work to do as far as sorting through the prospects from this camp and from the Merritt camp, and make sure we come up with what we think is the best camp in August. And there's going to be a lot of kids that we have to try and sell why they should come here, and there's a lot of guys in that camp who've already been given invites to other main camps in our league, and our job as coaches and as general managers is to convince them why Merritt should be their first choice. So that's the work that we've got ahead of us, and we're looking forward to it.
Do you find that the response from players, because again, your philosophy isn't to say sign these kids, so to speak, in giving them a spot on the roster, but the fact that they, again, need to earn that, do you think that there's some players that will sort of look at the grass is green on the other side, where there's a team offering them a player card as opposed to a Merritt squad where they have to come and they try out again?
Well, yeah, there could be, but I think for the most part, people that are still out in camps now are looking, just for another opportunity. And I think that the whole offering of cards and that stuff has really been cut back with these new rules that we have in place, and having to have our rosters, up and visible to other teams and things like that really changes the landscape. And there's not a lot of teams with a lot of room left. A lot of guys are already full with their 21, and you don't get as many cards being thrown around or commitments being thrown around there. So I think that's going to take a little bit of time for the players to adjust to and realize. And but at the same time, yeah, it holds true with our philosophy, and I think people are starting to really understand that.
Do you think that it creates a little bit of a trickle-down effect, too? Like, if you think about guys that have come onto this team, late in the season, a guy like Tyler Steele last year, last cut from Vernon's camp, a guy like Jeff Jones season before, where, again, a late cut from Vernon's camp. And I'm not trying to single out the Vipers here, but some of those teams that have committed to that 21, and maybe in some cases even more than that there might be some other guys that are on the outside looking in, that maybe you could get an opportunity to look at them.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of players come, sometime in September that are looking for homes, and we don't want that to be our philosophy. I think we've built a strong enough foundation now that we don't have to, go out there searching around for the loose scraps. We're, bringing in a very small group, and we're going to focus really hard on that group and prepare them as best as possible to get started and have a really good start to our season. So I don't think you'll see a whole lot of people coming and going here throughout the month of September as we prepare for our regular season opener. And it's probably going to be from our main camp group of 45. It'll be 25, 26 guys that are competing up until the 23rd. And once we hit that date, we'll have a group that's very familiar with each other and ready to roll.
So at this point, moving full steam ahead, you mentioned the next week to 10 days are going to be when you're sort of looking at putting together the invites for that main camp. What about transactions? Do you have teams calling for your players right now, or is the trade market right now kind of quiet?
I think a lot of people are kind of taking a little bit of time off right now, and we've got to get back involved with that. We do obviously have some moves to make, and it's a little bit flooded right now, to be honest with you, with the reduction in roster sizes, and I think there's a lot of kids available out there that teams are trying to get down to their group, and it's going to be an interesting year for that, and no knowing really how it's going to play out, but that's something that we're going to have to get busy on and really figure out what holes we need to make and what holes we have.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you about, is that obviously you look at a situation like a Jeff Jones where he's gone off to college now. He takes his 22 goals last season with him. Do you think that you can replace that offense from within, or are you in a situation where you want to go out and try to acquire someone that can bring you a little more offense?
Well, we'd love to, but I think there's 15 other teams in our league that are probably trying to do the same thing, and we're not going to jeopardize some of the foundation we've got here to do that. I think we've got a good supporting cast that can help, whether they chip in and provide that offense, or else they kind of bring someone along. A couple of these young guys we've seen that we think can, they might not step in and have the impact Jeff had right away in September and October, but by mid-season with some good line mates and teammates, I think they'll get the opportunities to do that, and hopefully we can fill that out with some youth.
Well, and I guess what it comes down to also, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you've got a guy like Jeff that had 22 goals, you get two guys that get 10 goals each more than they did last season, whether it's a rookie coming in or whatever, then you filled that void.
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna spread it out a little bit. We're gonna be a deep team again, and we obviously, there's no secret though, we do need a guy that you can throw out late in games and count on, and we've got some there already, but I think you need a full line or complement of them that's going to take some of that attention off of some of our high-end players here. And you look at a guy like Jake Reichert that hopefully with a full healthy season can help kind of break out a little bit here and provide that. And some other guys that probably didn't get as much of an opportunity last year to play in those minutes are hopefully ready to do that, and they'll get the opportunity. And